Hey guys, welcome back. My name's Hunter, and this is Zach.
And this is our best guess.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about the environment, I guess.
It's a big topic. All the topics we talk about are big, and we get lost in them a lot. So for this one, what we're going to try to do is start from the beginning.
Right, we're going to try and narrow it down a bit. We may not get to everything about the environment. Obviously, that's a lot of stuff.
It is a lot, yeah.
But we are going to talk about, I think global warming, climate change overall is like
global warming, climate change, interchangeably.
Yeah.
So,
okay, so we were going to start off talking about the Doomsday Clock.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody doesn't know what the Doomsday Clock is, it is a metaphor for global catastrophes, specifically man-made ones. Climate change, atomic war, global wars, economy failing, the works. Right now, in 2020, it is 100 seconds to midnight, which I believe is the closest it's ever been since the 70s, I think it was.
I just learned what this clock is.
Yeah, we had to go over the Doomsday Clock. It was...
So it can go in reverse.
Yeah, it can be reversed. It's an assessment, like a metaphorical assessment.
Okay.
So it's not like it's 100 seconds and then we're gonna die. No, it's 100 seconds.
That's how close we are to potentially die.
Right. Well, to potential global
catastrophe. Right. I honestly, Vanessa might be right. I think the place we should start is speciesism.
Oh dear.
So we have this friend at work. She's an older lady, and I told her we're gonna be talking about the environment, and I asked her what issues do you think we should talk about specifically, and first thing she said was speciesism,
which is hilarious because I think both of us are speciesist.
I would consider myself speciesism is the belief that one species is inherently better than another.
Which
I would punch the shit out of a snail. If I saw one just walking on the street, I'm better than it. I
don't think you need to enact violence against snails, but yeah, I would agree. I think humans are obviously the superior species.
So there's two sides to that, two arguments. There's the argument that we are superior in a sense, and there's the one that we're not superior. And the way that I look at it is,
I don't understand the argument for why wouldn't we be superior? Where are you getting the argument that oh yeah, bumblebees, they're equal if not better than
even
humans.
If we're talking about dogs, we can give it to dogs are the same as us. It's
really, attack the dogs. That'll make you real popular.
I'm not attacking any animals or people except for anti-speciesists. Just okay. So
I truly don't believe that anybody can honestly have that opinion. I don't understand.
There are people that actually have that opinion, and so the thing that I think is really important is the Earth is only as valuable as the things that live on it can perceive it. So if there was nothing on Earth alive except for the plants, which that's what a lot of anti-speciesists, they believe that the Earth would be more green, would be more whatever without people on it.
Right, but what's the value in that?
Exactly. There's no value on it because there's nothing there to perceive it and to get value from it.
Right, it would just be a big planet.
It would just be
plants.
A rock with moss on it floating in space.
That's a good analogy. I like that. Yeah, I don't understand the anti-speciesist argument. I've never understood that argument. Even if you're talking about things that are relatively as intelligent as us, like chimpanzees are damn close, and
they're very close.
I get that.
They've entered the Stone Age. That's pretty badass.
Yeah, that is pretty fucking cool. It's actually really impressive to watch.
So actually, that's a good kind of thing to bring up because I asked Vanessa this is okay. Let's say that the Earth is just inherently valuable as is with all the little animals on there, but without humans. If we just killed all the humans and then it was just all the animals.
They have to be killed.
I don't know where they go.
Magic. Let's just
magic.
Come on.
Thanos snapped them.
There you go. All of them.
All of them. All the humans. like, let's just say the Earth gets better, it gets healthier, whatever that means. And then she did actually say, "Oh yeah, it would." So it would. That's the argument. What happens in a couple million years with certain species of chimpanzee or dolphins or pigs, certain
God,
intellectual...
could you imagine? It's just pigs using stone tools.
Yeah, so like a pig or
the greatest slop shovel
they start
ever.
evolving similar to how humans did on Earth, and they start communicating. They start using tools. They start walking more bipedally rather than on a
Right,
fours.
they develop culture.
Yeah. What happens then? Are they now a danger to species like
Earth,
the
perfect Earth, whatever?
Yeah, the healthy now perfect Earth.
I don't know. Honestly, I think it's a viable argument. If it's not us, then it'll be something
other
else,
species. Right, exactly. And so honestly, because I do still view those species as eventually getting there, I don't think we need to be excessively cruel to the
Oh no,
species.
Just because I am specious doesn't mean that I
Right.
want like animal cruelty is fine or anything. No, like
exactly.
I believe they should be cruelty free. They should be
Right.
Treated with
They
respect.
treat each other very cruelly. They fuck each other up. But
it's
like
not like nature's a nice place even without humans. But
so the thing that I think makes us better than them is our
there's
ability.
a multitude of things.
There's a lot of different things, but one of their biggest things is our ability for like reason and our ability for reason. Like the way that we are able to reason. Hey, maybe we shouldn't punch a monkey in the face because some monkeys don't get that, or chimps. They fuck monkeys up.
Oh yeah,
They don't have that reason. They're like, dude, you see that little pussy monkey over there? Let's go eat him.
Yeah, that's true. They do. They murder each other brutally, and they have obviously no at least advanced culture. I'm sure there's some
There's
people who
probably
argue that there is some culture because of the
They have a lot of like hierarchical culture just based on like survival.
right. But is it culture or is that just how they are? It's like saying
don't
a
know,
pride
yeah.
of lions has culture because there's a hierarchy.
Well, I mean, you could take the word culture and you can think about like culture, like maybe on a petri dish, like a bacteria, like a culture of bacteria.
That is a totally different definition for culture.
It is a different definition. But,
I appreciate the attempt at like bridging that gap,
Like,
but it's not. That's
So-
not gonna work.
Okay, for now, we're humans. We're here.
We up in this,
We are on this rock.
yeah,
And so
and we're gonna destroy it. Is what the contention is really.
that is the contention. So the reason this rock is so cool is because it has plant life. It has
Right, it's
different
habitable, which
it's
is
habitable,
apparently a
right.
very, 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 very rare thing.
right.
We
And
haven't found another one yet.
we haven't found another one yet, and like at all. There's infinite.
I mean, technically, there was life on Mars, bacterial life.
Yeah.
I believe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but like we said, we're better than bacteria. Like
Well, yeah, and also Mars is dead, so we're also better
yeah.
than Mars.
So
I don't know. The whole climate change thing, it makes sense to me, and I do believe, yeah, we affect the environment negatively if you really want to boil it down. Yeah, it's negative. We chop down rainforests, we emit gases, we've raised the global temperature. I thought it was by 1 degree. You were saying half a degree the other day. But
half degree
however
Celsius, which is like 15 degrees Fahrenheit.
I don't think that's right.
I don't think that's right either. I don't understand
I don't think
Celsius.
that's that aside.
It's a couple, like half a degree Celsius is a couple of degrees Fahrenheit.
Probably like 1.5 or something. I don't know. I know there's a conversion rate. I don't remember it. It's like 9/5 plus 32 or some nonsense to convert. God, I'd be impressed if I'm right about that. My brain just
threw it out.
I'm going to look it up after and see if I'm right. And then I'm going to put a little text in here and it's going to be like, I'm right.
Yeah, because, we threw the text in last episode
Right.
saying that I'm right because I'm always
What
right.
the hell did suicidality?
Suicidality, yeah.
Ridiculous.
Anyway. So first, the whole speciesism argument is just dumb. But because I am, looking out for the best interest of...
She is deeply upset.
Yeah, she was...
I told you she hates closed doors. Sorry, cat again.
Move your tail, come on. because we're speciesists. Like,
I'm still uncomfortable labeling myself that for whatever reason. Like, I don't understand why it needs to exist. I don't like.
I don't understand why it needs to exist either. Like, it seems just like super decadent. Like, not really that important of a distinction.
How arrogant do we have to be to start demanding that animals are
equal?
Exactly. Like, we know they're not. You inherently know they're not.
They would be equal if they were on the same playing field as us, and then you can argue that
Right. I'm not about to give a panda a ballot and be like, hey, what do you think about climate change?
Yeah, exactly. And if they were on the same playing field as us, you can even argue that we are the reason they're not on the same playing field as us, but that's not true.
I don't think we've suppressed their...
We haven't suppressed them. In fact, we've given them better circumstances for living, higher lifespans.
I've said this before. There's a reason that some species have existed. We've saved koala bears from extinction entirely, almost.
And okay, so
and that's just one example. Pandas literally won't even have sex with each other. They're going to go and die off because they just won't have babies.
So that's actually kind of important that we're here, because a panda can't save us from global catastrophe, and no other animal can save us from any sort of
not at all
anything, because if they were just here by themselves and there was global catastrophe, they'd get fucked. Like, there's 2 ice ages where multiple species of animals got fucked, and just the lucky ones survived. So for us, who we're capable of reason, we're capable of...
I mean, I don't think we're going to stop the next ice age, but,
No.
I mean, we might be able to, preserve some animals, all Noah's Ark style, but, I mean, I don't even know if we would
right now, the ice age isn't even what we're worried about.
No, we're worried about extreme heat is mostly what I've read.
And,
she's messing with a bag, excuse me.
Right now, this is the argument... this is the sort of projection for climate change is we are...
That's cat. Not yours.
Look at this cat doesn't have capacity for thought at all.
No, just destructive capacity.
Just destructive capacity. But okay, so the argument is right now we are emitting carbon emissions, and what it's doing is it's all getting collected in the ozone layer.
I believe.
The ozone layer, what that's doing is...
the atmosphere, and it's...
The atmosphere...
Not allowing heat to escape correctly.
Right, it's not allowing heat waves from the sun to... It's getting trapped. It's basically becoming like a giant greenhouse. That's where that term, greenhouse gas, greenhouse effect comes from. And it's kind of like, a baby in a hot car. That's exactly what it's like. Don't...
Why does it always have to be those, those edgy metaphors?
It's not an edgy metaphor.
It's a baby in a car.
A dog in a car. It's a car on a hot day.
There you go. It could literally just not be.
It's hotter inside the car than it is outside.
There doesn't need to be anything in the car, Zach. That's what makes it.
Okay. It's a car on a hot day. It's hot, but then you get in the car and it's hotter in the car than it is outside.
Nothing died in your metaphor this time. Thank you.
Okay. So,
I mean, there's plenty of things that have always said, "Hey, we're affecting the environment. We're going to destroy the environment. We're creating greenhouse gases." And I agree with all those things to mostly. The real reason that we're even talking about this, or why it's a more common conversation, is because we can no longer turn it back. Is the what's been posed out there?
Right, and that's kind of. I understand, I agree with you that we are affecting the climate to a certain extent, but with the whole, we can't turn it back, the issue that I have with that is, turn it back to what, from where? So
right.
What is the ideal perfect Earth besides just this volatile chaos of a rock in space?
I mean, I'm not really
we live in space. It's already extremely lucky that we even have this rock to begin with.
Incalculably.
Exactly. So already I don't know what the ideal state of Earth is, and I don't know what that sort of midnight is in that metaphorical clock.
The Doomsday Clock, right?
Right. In the environmental aspect. For other aspects I can understand that.
Right. Atomic war is definitely closer than it ever has been because people are still making them.
Right, exactly. So with the whole we can't turn it back, I don't know how true that is, because again, I don't know where the scale is, and I don't know what people are wanting to do to, because okay, what I would argue is,
So when you say you don't understand what the scale is, what the scale for what? Like the scale for climate change specifically? How much we've affected it? Or the
Right.
scale for...
right,
the-
how much we've affected it, and then how much we have left until it's global catastrophe.
Right. I don't know what's defining a global catastrophe, because if you look at India, it's regularly over 120 degrees. People are dying
Right.
and passing out in the
Exactly.
streets. So
And-
is that a global catastrophe?
Exactly. There are a lot of countries where it's just extremely hot all the time. There's still people there. There's still life. There's still culture, infrastructure, everything.
I still, I wouldn't argue that it's a global catastrophe now, is what I would contend. But I don't think
I
that...
think I in a very real sense, I feel like right now is like the people like associate catastrophe and like apocalypse with this crazy apocalyptic
Right,
view
that
of,
scene
like,
where there's meteors raining
yeah,
down
exactly.
from the sky and
But
people are
I
killing
think-
each other in the streets.
I think you're right. Like right now is pretty damn close to catastrophe in terms of how violent people are. Like
Yeah.
literally just trying to talk to anyone, and like even that speciesist conversation I was having with Vanessa, it's not really a conversation like what we're having right now. It's like she's trying to convince me that like speciesism is real and that humans are like destroying the earth.
Like that we just won't accept that it's real. Like, no.
Well, I accept that it's real, and I'm a speciesist. Like I fuck other
don't
animals.
I
Like
don't accept that it's real. I don't think people really think that. I think it's just a random argument that we, in our arrogance, have created.
Yeah.
For no reason at all.
There is not a reason. Yeah, there's not a reason for that.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? What are you going to do about it if you?
For all the people who are like humans actively hurt the environment, just kill yourself. Because like that's literally taking your thing to the logical conclusion of you're doing your part.
I don't think they need to go on off themselves. I'm pretty sure they have the desire to do better
No, it's
to
either
the environment.
It's
like,
either you do better.
Why must it be extremes? Why?
Do better then. Like
I mean, yeah,
literally,
that's what the-
choose a better position,
That's
or
what the
take your
argument-
position to the logical conclusion.
I mean, I suppose.
Because then
but
the other argument is
I don't
okay
think so.
if
No.
humans are
You
bad.
know what? I disagree with that. There's plenty of other options. That is not the only logical
But if they
conclusion.
think that humans are bad inherently, it's either that there needs to be less humans,
Well,
which like
I mean, that's
it's
kind of
either
true.
they
But
gotta be
I don't think
less,
it's bad
or
inherently.
you gotta be
I
less.
think it's the way that we are living now is bad inherently.
I do think the way that we're living now is bad.
But that's
and
what the argument is. They're not saying like humans are bad, period. They're saying what we are doing right now is bad. Which, I mean, I agree with that idea. You know, using too much fossil fuel, wantonly just destroying the earth, littering.
So with that, if we are going to sort of like start the efforts to like reversing it, quote unquote, like reversing it,
Right.
we have to see how what we do on a day-to-day basis affects the climate entirely.
Oh, yeah. Like, there are plenty of people who will say, oh, you know what, I definitely want to help the environment. And all they do is recycle. Except recycling has been proven many times not to affect the environment positively in overall
Or
sense.
even the whole like buying electric cars is better for the environment when it's not. It's proven that buying a used car and running that until it's dead is better for the environment on fossil fuels. So like it's really hard to talk about this because there are so many people who are that radical, and that's why I use such radical languages because
that's not why. You just love the idea of killing all people.
No, I'm not killing anyone. Like I think it's fun to just
it's funny for sure.
Yeah,
but it's not practical by any means at all.
Okay, so if we're gonna talk about like the things that are actually going to slow down climate change and then sort of like carbon emissions, like carbon consumption. First, electricity is like using electricity. Like, where do you think that electricity comes from? It comes from power plants, right? Yep. It comes from fossil fuels. So every time you're tweeting, every time you're talking about other people doing bad at the environment,
what are they? activist groups on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Like
They're all killing the environment.
You are literally killing the environment by supporting infrastructure for electricity.
Right, and
So,
there are many other ways to get electricity. I actually was reading what was that, today or yesterday?
Yesterday, or Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
There was there's a reduction in the cost of both solar and wind power, almost by 89% in the former and something like 49% in the latter. And that's crazy. That's the active cost of using them has dropped in, I think, the last few months, maybe a couple years, by 89%. So that's a viable alternative, or at least a supplemental alternative. And then you've got nuclear power, which I know you're a humongous fan of nuclear power.
I'm a huge fan of nuclear power. But
you're like the nuclear power.
So the issues
mascot.
that happens with like solar and wind is when you're talking about it being supplemental to our system.
I believe it is a supplemental.
It's supplemental based on fossil fuels, and it's a huge system that we have.
Oh yeah, it's extremely extensive. I don't think people understand how big fossil fuels are.
Well, even the whole infrastructure for electricity is so big that there's no amount of solar panels unless you have solar panels on every single house powering just supplementally still, because even with the solar panel on as much house surface area as you have, you're not going to get the type of power to power the whole house.
Right. You would probably have to have like a backyard with a wind turbine and a whole solar power array.
Right.
And then you could power your home.
Yeah.
Maybe like independently in time.
Well, you could power your home except for things like air conditioner. And even then, like, you could do it, but you wouldn't have the same level of like comfort as you do now. Especially
is that worth it?
Well, I think so.
That's something that everybody's going to have to decide unanimously, that it's just no longer worth it, and that's how we're going to defeat fossil fuels.
Right.
Though I still don't.
But the only way that they would be able to unanimously do that and defeat it was if they literally boycotted electricity and just stopped using it.
Wouldn't that be the greatest boycott?
If you could actually do that, I would be impressed. Like I would join that. I would join boycotting electricity. Like
you would join boycotting electricity. I would not do that.
But yeah, because something that I believe that we can do to sort of reduce our especially like individually our footprint. Yeah, I guess. But even just our like contributing with electricity use is. I look out. We live in a desert. We live in New Mexico, so there's just desert everywhere.
Sun and wind.
And I see that, and like, it's not the most inhabitable, especially just like by itself.
Oh yeah, without it's very difficult to survive in just a desert setting alone. Like,
but I don't get why like the government owns so much property. And then for the amount of, like, there's little private property that people own, but for the rest of it, it's, like, quote-unquote protected lands. I don't get why you can't just go out and start on your own, like, terraforming that land.
Because nobody makes money that way, I'm telling you.
It's not for money, and...
Exactly, it's not making you money. It's the same reason we can't collect rainwater here, why it's illegal.
we can't collect rainwater here.
No, I don't think you can collect rainwater anywhere. I'm pretty sure...
No, there's some places where it's like
you have to have a permit.
Well, no, there's some places where it's like it's based on inches, like how much you can collect.
How the hell are they going around with rulers? Like, nah, your rainwater is an inch too tall.
They will measure like the lowering of your car with a ruler.
Oh yeah, that's true.
There is no extent.
We live in such a silly society.
It is so silly. We live in
who cares?
the advocates for speciesism versus anti-speciesism.
They're probably the same people. That boy's car is too low.
Exactly.
It's offensive.
That's just a monument to humanity and its stupidness.
It's arrogance. No, I'm not really sure why more people don't take an active role in climate change or trying to reduce at least their electricity. You can put a solar panel on your roof and it's extremely cheap now, which is surprising. Like honestly, it's pretty cheap to do.
It's
there's
really
solar
cheap to do.
install places everywhere. I can't go even online without seeing some sort of
You could do it yourself easy.
Yeah, it's true. All you need is an inverter and a panel.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then you
need the panel, the battery, the inverter, and then a controller for the panel to the battery.
I don't think you need a controller.
Well, for the batteries you need to, because like they need to power the batteries evenly.
Right. No, that's what the inverter is for.
I guess it is what the inverter is for.
Yeah, it changes it from DC to AC, puts it in the battery. The battery has an output.
And you can just hook that right up to your.
Yeah, they sell whole systems, really dirt ass cheap.
See, like if we were just given the ability to.
What they really ought to do is just supplement solar power through the government. Like, hey, if you.
I think they already do. I think you can.
Oh, do they?
Like, so they subsidize solar like heavy.
I thought the power company was doing that. Like, if you have solar,
No, I think when you have solar, it turns your meter backwards, kind of, because
it's inputting.
Right, and it gives you like discounts and different shit. It gives you a negative.
I mean, that makes sense in and of itself. But still, I mean, that seems like such a simple solution for most people to be able to accomplish. Even things like this at my giant apartment building, that have solar panels on its roof. There should be no reason why it wouldn't, or even desire to, because it helps them not have to pay money.
And I don't know what the issue is, because I'm not against solar and wind. I'm against the replacement of our entire infrastructure.
I have no problem replacing it if we do something like nuclear energy. We did read that thing that said that fossil fuels also contribute to the making of nuclear energy, which to a degree
in the construction of it maybe, right. But then
just because of I'm sure there are ways to replace parts that aren't totally fossil fuel based, or at least reduce the amount of
or
fossil
if
fuel
you started into the power infrastructure of nuclear, you would be able to power things without the use of this is actually something I want to touch on is so when we say electricity is carbon footprint, this is why it's carbon footprint. The way electricity is made is basically all the same. It's by heating water. You heat water, and it turns a motor a turbine. Well, right, it's a turbine connected to a motor.
Right.
That's what AC is, alternating current. Yep. It's turning it.
Current.
Then it's going out of there
into a power grid.
Into a power grid. So that's all we really need.
It's just boiling water.
Boiling water.
Which is really, really funny to me, because people are always, in history you learn about the steam era, but we're still in the steam era. We just, we've advanced
the steam, right. And it's funny, because, like, that lady, Vanessa, that was talking about speciesism, I asked her.
Name drop her?
I'm not giving her last name.
That's true. At least we're not going to dox anybody.
Yeah, don't dox Vanessa. All right, she's fine. She's awesome. Just leave her alone. But I asked her, like, okay, well, we're going to be talking about the environment. Like, what do you feel about nuclear energy? And her answer for a lot of different things is, oh, that's something I'm going to need to research. But it's interesting how little people understand, like, nuclear energy.
Definitely, especially given that it's such an old view that they have. Even younger people have such an old, archaic view of nuclear energy from like the 1930s. I mean, I don't understand why people are so afraid of it. It's almost 90 years after most meltdowns. And the meltdown in Japan was a freak accident because of a tsunami.
Yeah.
Like...
And a lot of, like, Chernobyl people bring up a lot. It's 1960s Soviet technology.
Which is something that you wouldn't trust in the first place.
No, you shouldn't trust anything Soviet. Like,
no, definitely not. The only thing that the Soviets did right was the AK.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Andrew Kalishnikov. He has a quote that was like, "I was going to be an architect, but you can thank the Germans for the invention of the AK." Or maybe you can thank the Germans for the invention of the AK because I was going to be an architect.
That's a pretty badass quote, honestly.
Yeah.
That's an archaic view of nuclear power.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much safer. It's so much cleaner. Mm-hmm. Everyone always asks, well, what do you do with nuclear waste. Like, you bury it. We bury our garbage.
And that's what's crazy is when we have this nuclear waste, it's so little compared to like everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Like literally even especially electricity or solar power is. The solar panels are really hard to get rid of because the same issue
and a lot
is
of it you can't recycle.
Right, you can't recycle it, and
once
then
it's broken,
once it's in the ground, that's not good for agriculture, which is the whole argument against nuclear energy or nuclear waste. But then nuclear waste, you're able to store like exponentially more waste than any other medium, and then on top of that, yeah, just store it all for a while, seal it up. Bury it.
Yeah, I don't understand why people are afraid
80,
of
80 to however many years, like
I don't know. It's quite a bit.
it is quite a bit. It's a while, but then at that point, like it's safe. Like you can just take it out.
Chuck it in the ocean.
Chuck it in the ocean, yeah.
That'll really piss somebody off.
We can shoot into space, even like.
I've never understood why we don't space like most of our garbage.
Yeah.
They've been trying to build like a space elevator for
our neighbors come up, they're like, hey. Actually, sorry, this is a little off topic. I saw this thing called a skyhook. Like that's something that we're starting to think about, and it's this long cable where the hook is actually in orbit and it's going along, and we can raise it and lower it and like.
Yeah, that's a sci-fi thing. It's kind of cool though. That would be pretty nifty. We make cool stuff. I don't know, like.
Yeah, have you seen a panda make a skyhook?
Yeah, what? Pandas. Or a space elevator?
Yeah.
We should put a panda in a space elevator. Now that would be fun.
That would be paying us back for keeping their stupid species alive.
Because they just won't mate. But yeah, I know that there are plenty of supplemental ways to help the environment. There are plenty of alternative power sources. Why aren't we doing them?
One reason, like the biggest solution is obviously nuclear energy, because when you have
I totally agree with that.
When you have like oil and even I don't necessarily mind like natural gas that much because that's much less in terms of like
right. I mean,
carbon
it burns
emission.
off and then.
Right, and
I don't know what it separates into. So when it combusts, there's always going to be
carbon.
Right.
There's always going to be carbon dioxide. But then
does it produce water as well when it? I don't remember what natural gas is made of.
I don't remember either.
I'll look that up later.
But like specifically, the big thing that people talk about is oil. Is like us burning oil or even coal,
which is a huge impact.
Then they don't know what that means, and literally it's just boiling water. So then you say nuclear, and they're like, "Oh fuck, I don't know what nuclear is. I don't want any like."
Right? They imagine this like green toxic sludge, draping around like this big old basin. Like no, that's filled with water. When you look at those big nuclear silos, it's filled with water.
Yeah,
that's what comes out the top.
Those are cooling towers. They're filled with water, and all it is. That's exactly. That's coming out of top. It's steam. It's fucking water.
It's not like some crazy horrid.
And then
toxic
you can see the effects of that would be like increased humidity. So like okay, maybe it's hotter.
I don't think you would have to do so much to increase humidity.
Well, what I'm saying is more in the long term because you would have to burn a lot of shit to have increased carbon emissions.
I mean, look at carbon plants. They actually emit carbon. So. Yeah, nuclear energy is the cleaner, easier way to do that.
Nuclear energy is like the best way to reduce carbon emissions. And then not only that, but when we're looking at carbon emissions, America isn't the biggest producer of carbon emissions.
By far.
It's China and India.
Yup, because they have so many people and they don't have a lot of regulations for it.
No,
as far as I understand, if
don't.
they have any at all.
Well, the issue is a lot of it's owned by the government, and
you mean all of it?
All of it's owned by the government. So like, they can burn whatever. They can just keep.
They're not gonna
shitting
find
out
themselves.
Yeah, they're not gonna find themselves. They're just gonna like keep shitting stuff out, and like, here we use oil, but again we use a lot of natural gas, and like we don't use a lot of coal. Like that's not
No.
Who the fuck uses coal? Like, have you ever seen a lump of coal?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you told me you have seen. I've never seen a lump of coal in my life.
It's really fun.
I've seen charcoal.
Right. Not quite the same, but
No,
it is.
because that's just wood.
Yeah. Just burnt wood. I don't know. I mean, people talk about affecting the climate, but people don't think about how they're personally affecting the climate. Like, they recycle, but they also throw out garbage, and I don't think they know where garbage goes. Did I ever show you that video about landfills and what happens when garbage gets in the landfill? They bury it.
Yeah, they bury it.
It goes away.
It's a giant hole.
Yeah, that's what
that's a landfill.
Landfill, yeah. They fill a bunch of land, they bury it, and then they build another landfill, and then they fill that up, and they bury it.
And then that's one of the things that like people complain about is they're like, oh well, there's decomposing shit in there, so like it makes the land unstable.
Like, but for maybe at like a gracious mile from a landfill, it would be unstable, and that I don't even believe that's true.
And even on top of the landfill, like unstable for what? Like,
what are you gonna do? You know, there's a landfill there.
It's not quicksand. Like, you're not gonna be like, whoa. Even if it's unstable, like
just don't build on it.
And you can build on it too. Like, I don't even know why you can't. I mean, honestly, a lot of that shit decomposing has got to be pretty okay for like planting new stuff.
Right.
Because like, what are you gonna do? Your plants are gonna, if their foundation is gonna be gone. You don't have foundations for planting.
Right. It's dirt.
It's dirt.
I mean, yeah. Even if it is just plastic, I would rather it be in a landfill than everywhere. Yeah, the ocean. Which is somehow I'm never understood how they've justified this, but people have justified that if you throw something away, it goes to the landfill, and then I don't know what the step is they think happens, but then it goes to the ocean.
The ocean, yeah.
like I don't know how that would happen. Like, the ocean doesn't like come up and steal our garbage. Like, how the hell? Like, they have this magic step in their head. I don't know who said it or where they got their facts from, but
yeah.
You don't magic garbage from the landfill.
No.
A giant hole in the ground to the ocean, unless the landfill was built on like an underground.
A lot of it is litter
source.
or people disposing of stuff improperly
right.
into the ocean instead of doing it into a landfill.
Which, I mean, again, a lot of people see those really horrible pictures where the tide is brought in those like giant waves of plastic bottles,
or like trash islands,
all that nonsense. But I think that if we really, really wanted to, we could concert enough effort to actually undo that.
Oh, definitely. There's a kid,
Oh yeah.
Literal kid. He invented this thing that just floats around and it collects all that shit.
Yeah.
To go then throw in landfills. Like,
yeah, where do you think it's gonna go?
Yeah.
Like, no, not the ocean, but not the landfills either. Like, dude, we're not jettisoning space into garbage into space yet.
Turn it into pure energy.
Well, I mean, I guess we could burn it. That would be worse.
That would be worse. Could you
be
imagine
burning plastic
for like
for fuel?
That would be horrible.
That would be pretty horrible, honestly. But again, I don't know what people want out of this. Again, there's got to go somewhere. It has to go somewhere.
Basically, the point of this is support nuclear energy. Like, there's literally no reason not to.
I totally agree with that. It's a good, clean source of energy. It has plenty of power to it. I think it outputs almost twice as much as most coal.
It's the most efficient. It will outcompete. It's like 80% more efficient than any other power source.
And it has less waste.
And less waste.
No, I've never understood why people are so afraid of nuclear energy. They really need to teach more people about it and not just, hey, Chernobyl.
Chernobyl, right, exactly. and because every single issue about people saying with climate change and this or that could be solved by us converting to something like nuclear energy. Right.
I mean, okay, so I actually wanted to bring this back up. One of the things that can't be solved is transportation directly. But that can also be solved somewhat with electrical cars combined with nuclear energy.
Exactly. And so that's
I don't know why it's doing that.
That's okay. The issue, like the article you sent me about like how we're running out of oil or whatever, but then even nuclear power plants are focused on oil or whatever. It's because a lot of the stuff that we have for industrial, like just industrialization in general, in terms of making steel and making concrete, making PVC pipes, making whatever, there's
Wiring.
a lot of stuff that's powered by engines, like literal engines. Like, have you seen these giant industrial engines?
Oh yeah, I mean you
where
can
it
have
takes-
backup generators for buildings that are giant friggin' engines. That's
right,
what they are.
Exactly. So with those engines, they're powered by fuel, but with the advancements that we're having in motors and like electrical power, that's fantastic. Like, those are fantastic.
Oh, I
And if
agree.
you had the power output of just constant nuclear energy, just as efficient as possible, you would be able to convert. You would be able to start that conversion over to things being powered by engines and whatever to being powered by motors. Which a motor, like people use motor and engine interchangeably.
Because they used to be purely interchangeable. They were the same
They
thing.
were the same
Combustible
thing.
motors.
Right,
engines.
exactly. But now we have motors that are just electric.
Right.
They-
And for
they-
everyone who doesn't know, a motor is just a rotation. That's it. It's a powered rotation.
Right, exactly.
An engine-
It's just turned. It's just like if you can imagine like a little RC car, a
Yeah.
little like cylinder with a little
What are the
tiny
fuck-
little cylinder
Yeah, little tiny cylinder that just
that
rotates.
spins really
Yeah.
fast.
That's what an engine effectively is. An
And
engine
yeah.
powers a motor, which is a
then-
rotating.
and then an
spindle.
engine is so you take a big block and it has cylinders, and inside of those cylinders you ignite
There's a
fuel.
small amount of combustion that
Right.
creates pressure
that
and
creates
moves
pressure,
the pistons.
puts the piston down, moves the piston up, and then when that piston's coming back down, it brings that fuel in to where it's able to go up, combust, and then push it back down.
and
to
they're all
then-
set at different.
It's all timed
angles.
differently so that
As
they're
it
always
combusts, it rotates
Right.
the motor. But anyway, yeah, electric motors are a great alternative with nuclear power when combined with nuclear
Mhm.
power. And I don't. So a lot of people are still against electric cars because they can't, go as far or as fast
Right.
and whatnot. But
Right.
I disagree with that entirely. You can get electric cars to move extremely fast, and if we put even just a little bit of effort,
fast.
Huh?
Fast. They're very fast.
right? Yeah, you can make them go extremely fast.
Well, they're already they produce instant torque. Like they're
Right,
fast.
they're
The
very
issue
fast.
is the distance.
Right. Well, the distance is what I was
Right.
mostly going to focus on. Is
Mhm.
that if we just put in just a little bit of research into battery efficiency or battery capacity or
Slap on extra batteries.
that's what I'm saying. Like transportation of fresh batteries. What the hell?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound that hard. Like
But even then, if we were to get rid of like the infrastructure around having like oil and all that being powering the power grid, we could have that oil for us making that slow conversion over to electric
Right.
vehicles, and because we don't there's no reason. Like, I understand cars need to be powered by fuel and
a fuel of
combustion.
some kind.
Well, even like combustion engines, like I understand they're the most efficient that we have currently.
Well, we also they're more efficient because of the market around oil, really.
Right, exactly. But
if there was more for like what was that, the corn conversion that was popular a few years ago, where you could make ethanol,
ethanol. Yeah.
which it's not as efficient, but it can be done. And I mean, again, put some more research into that. I bet you could up the efficiency quite a bit.
There's hydrogen power cars. Like literally, you can power cars with a lot of different things. But even then, so when you
And
have
hydrogen's made of water, or water's made of hydrogen, by the way.
Right,
So you can
water's made of
separate them.
Yeah, so this is the issue that I have with a lot of the arguments around climate change. Is they're like, we need to attack like
Big oil.
big oil or fuels like combustion engines, like cars, and put a fuel tax or do this, a carbon tax. But that actually hurts the individual people that are using these technologies to further society instead of hurting the actual infrastructure. So with the actual infrastructure,
Hold on, back up, explain that. So I mean, I know what you're saying, but
Mhm.
it hurts the individuals who are using this and not being able to progress society.
Right, exactly. Because if you have a car, like let's say that you're working on ethanol,
Right.
but you have a Honda Civic that's powered on gasoline, but then there's a tax, so now it's like, oh well, now mine, like that adds up. Like
Oh,
there
yeah,
are
for
whole
sure.
protests against these like huge taxes in like France for fuel tax because no one can use cars because it's just so expensive because everything's taxed. So
Which they already do have, by the way. That's the portion that those little 9/10 on your when you go to buy gasoline here in America, at least.
Yeah.
That's the tax portion. I believe it's. Oh, I can't remember.
I don't know.
But it is per gallon. So
right. And
some percentage.
So instead of taking it out on like the individual, where they're trying to do these things to progress society, to like they are the feet on the ground, the boots on the ground, you have to look at the infrastructure. So if you were to take away the infrastructure of like oil or whatever and convert, you don't even need to take it away, but start to maybe, we want to incentivize solar and wind and all of this shit that's inefficient. Incentivize nuclear energy, like.
Incentivize it all. I think there's no reason not to have all of it all at once. And even then, like, you just build a more efficient system. And I don't understand why we aren't striving for that. That's been our
So the sort of like argument against just funding it all through the government is just because you are working on that technology doesn't mean you're more efficient at it, and it doesn't mean.
Oh no,
that
I don't agree.
Right.
I don't agree with completely radicalizing overnight, but definitely there's time, and well, maybe not anymore now that we can't reverse the end of the world, but
yeah,
still.
The end of the world is coming. You can't reverse it. It's 100 seconds.
You really hate this stupid clock.
It's just.
I mean, I think that it should be incentivized all over the place. Incentivize solar, incentivize wind. You want to put up a wind turbine? You go for it, Bill. Put it right there in the backyard.
Yeah, and so
I think
so. When
we
you
should
say
be
incentivize, do you mean incentivize through like money, like being paid to do it, or do you think incentivize like socially being like, that's pretty sweet that you got a windmill?
I don't know if we could pay people to build a windmill.
Because usually when you say incentivize, that's what people mean.
Well, no, because there are plenty of things you could do, like lessen their taxes or have a tax credit.
Oh, that's
like
totally
that.
True.
Right, that's just an incentive.
That's totally. I because I don't like subsidies. So if we're talking about
subsidies don't work all that well.
No, and that's the issue that I was having earlier. Is like subsidies. What they do is they create that like, it's like the insurance government thing is. It's the government giving you money to maybe not do the best job possible. But if it's literally just giving you breaks on things, like tax breaks, that's fantastic. I definitely agree with that.
Tax breaks are extremely effective.
Yeah, if we did tax breaks for people with, solar or with wind power, I could totally get behind that.
Or cities that put up nuclear plants.
Or, cities that do nuclear... Well, a lot of taxes are based on, like, the city.
Right,
so,
well.
That'd be the city themselves, like, saying, like...
Good job.
Good job, me.
But still, I think it would be... I think it's to everyone's benefit to do things
I think it's to everyone's benefit, too.
Yeah.
That seems like it. Like,
seems like we touched on pretty much what we wanted to, specifically nuclear energy,
we came
global
to an
warming.
Agreement. It was a feel-good, happy episode.
It was a happy episode, yeah. I'm not leaving this one upset.
You're not leaving this one like, what the fuck?
Why? All right, guys. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed what you're listening to, please give us a like and a subscribe.
Remember to set your doomsday clock 1 hour forward because it is daylight savings time. So
doomsday savings.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.